You ever wonder why eating healthy feels expensive while ultra processed junk food is dirt cheap? Like, why does everything in the grocery store seem designed to make us want to buy more, but not necessarily feel better? So, today, I think we're going to break down why the modern food system is designed for profit, not health, and what we can maybe do to break free from it. Okay, so this isn't just about individual food choices, it's going to be about the whole system, which is built to keep us dependent, consuming, and unaware of how much control we've lost over what we eat. So, let's get into it. Whew, tea's hot. Means I can talk for a while. Let's start with the grocery store because whether we realize it or not, every inch of that store is designed to manipulate us while we shop. So if you think about it, when you walk in, what do you smell? Fresh bread. Maybe there's some samples. If you're in Canada or the US, you'll have rotisserie chickens on cooking, which is always tempting. They're all foods meant to make you feel hungry and impulsive, and it's not a coincidence. This is totally deliberate because the smell alone has been shown to increase spending, which also increases the store's profits. Then there's the store layout. So if you've ever wondered why milk and eggs are always at the back, well, that's because they want you to walk through all that processed food first. They don't want you to come in, grab your essentials, and then leave. They want you to get distracted. Add a few extra bits. Go, ooh, oh yes, I needed that. Or, ooh, that would be nice. That looks yummy, right? So that's what they want. Then we've got those lovely little like end caps, those shelves at the end of every aisle. These aren't where the best deals are. They're where brands pay to put products in your face, right? So it's all about visibility and impulse buys. We go down there, we see something amazing, and we're saying, oh, that looks like a good deal. I'll buy that. Leads us into basically the buy two, get one free kind of trick, right? You think you're saving money, but what's actually happening? You buy more than you plan to. You only needed one, but now you've got three of them. What are you going to do? You can throw it in a freezer. Fantastic. You saved maybe a bit of money on that. But usually it's going to be on something processed that's cheap and makes them highly profitable for the store because there's profit in that sale. Like they're not going to put something on sale and not make money from it. So, or they know you're going to do that and then buy something to go with it. These things are not always cheaper, especially if you tend to see the rotations from like the grocery store. You end up finding that they might always have that on for a 2-for-1 type of special. So you can just buy the one or the two. Depends how prepper you are, I guess, or how many freezers you've got that you can put them in. We're limited on freezer space here in the UK, so not as easy as in Canada where I had freezers coming out of everywhere. Okay, so anyway, went on a little ramble there, but basically, if you ever notice, the rotisserie chickens are always cheap, and that's because they're a loss leader, a product that is designed to lose money because they know you're going to grab sides, sauces, potato salad, bread rolls. You need butter. You need, I don't know, fries or something to go along with it, right? And also a drink, right? So you think you got a deal on the chicken, which you did, but because you came in for the chicken, now you need to buy all this other stuff to go with it. And then at the end, your total bill says otherwise. You didn't really save any money at all. This is all psychological manipulation. Grocery stores don't just sell food, they sell habits, so addictions and convenience. And if you don't know what to look for, you're playing right into their hands. So, how do we fight back? We shop potentially, stick to our list, pretend you're sending your husband with a list and they come back with what was on the list, nothing extra. Shop the perimeter and where the real food is and start paying attention to how these tricks influence your buying habits because you know once you start to see it, you can't unsee it. And maybe many of you can already see this, and I'm just repeating stuff you already know, but this is vital information. It's going to be all part of everything we talk about. So let's talk about something the food industry doesn't want you to know. Okay. And that is because it's not just about what's on the shelves, it's about how food is designed and marketed to us as well. Have you ever wondered why low fat products are everywhere? Or why heart healthy labels are slapped on ultra processed foods? It's because the food industry isn't about health, it's about selling a story. So take low fat dairy, for example. Okay? When they remove the fat, they're taking out the most nutrient dense part of the food. But instead of telling you that, they have replaced that fat with sugar and stabilizers and additives and convince you it's healthier. They just say low fat because that's what we're told to eat. Then we get into greenwashing. You know, those packages with pastoral farm images and phrases like farm fresh and cage free. Sounds great, right? But those words don't actually mean much. Companies know people want better food, so they sell the illusion of better food rather than making better food. And it gets very frustrating. But even the way the foods are marketed is strategic. Healthy buzzwords like all natural, superfood, or fortified make us believe we're making a better choice. But these terms are often meaningless. All natural doesn't mean free of additives, superfood isn't regulated, and fortified usually means they had to add back nutrients because the food was stripped of them during the processing. So the real question is, why does processed food need so many additives in the first place? Well, because real food spoils, and when food is designed to sit on a shelf for months or years, it means something unnatural had to happen to it. Because real food, doesn't last that long. Ultra processed food isn't just food, it's a product. It's designed in labs, it's optimized for addictive flavor and sold through billion-dollar marketing campaigns. And yet, these are the foods the industry tells us are normal. But let me ask you, what's really normal? Eating butter, tallow, fresh vegetables, and meat the way our ancestors did. Or eating food engineered to make us overcome and rely on pharmaceuticals later in life, right? We need the good food. We don't want to eat and overconsume on stuff. Let's make us chubby. I mean, look at me, I know. So once you start questioning the food industry's marketing, you start to see the cracks. And when you see the cracks, you start to make better choices, or at least do the best that you can. So let's start seeing through those lies because real food doesn't need a marketing campaign. And if it's marketed, don't eat it. Okay? So this is where things really start to feel rigged because, well, they are. So let's talk about how governments and big corporations shape what we eat. Because if you think food guidelines are based purely on science, you're going to be in for a surprise. And now, those of you that possibly already know this, well, here's a little refresher for you. Okay, so we take the food pyramid. You probably grew up seeing it in school, being told it was the gold standard for nutrition, but who actually created it? Was it independent nutritionists? No, the US Department of Agriculture, an agency tied to big agriculture and corporate industries and interests. And this is the same for everywhere, not just America, not just Canada, not just, the UK, all around the world where we have this food pyramid. They're all pretty much the same. And they're all lobbied and designed by the same people, all working for big companies that are not there to give you food because it's healthy and you need to eat it. They want you to eat the food because they need to sell it. Totally different. Um, so, for example, they tell us to eat like 6 to 11 servings of grain a day, and they tell us fat is bad. And who benefit from that? Who benefits? The food industry, which makes billions from ultra processed grain based foods all the time. It's not just in the US, though. Like I said, the same profit driven food policies exist worldwide, and they subsidize cheap industrial crops like wheat, corn, and soy, not because they're the most nutritious, but because they're the most profitable. Think about that for a minute. I'm getting low on tea. Gotta hurry up. All right. You ever wonder why it's cheaper to buy a bag of chips than a pound of fresh meat? Or even a potato for that matter sometimes. It's not an accident. It's a system at work. The system. The food industry wants you hooked on cheap, addictive foods because that's what drives repeat business. And let's talk about monocropping farming, right? It's pushed as efficient, but it's destroying our soil. It's making us dependent on synthetic fertilizers and chemical pesticides, all to mass produce grains that go into processed foods and seed oils. And cattle feed. Cows don't eat grains either. We're told that this is the only way to feed the world. But that's not true. We could feed local communities through regenerative farming, but that's not where the money is, you know? And it's annoying. What about nutritional education, for example? Okay. My son is taking health and fitness classes, and guess what he's being taught? The same outdated food pyramid, the same fear of saturated fats. He was told to cut off the fat on your meat because that's bad for you. You can't eat too much. Meanwhile, through our life lessons, we know that's not true and that saturated fat is not the enemy. And this is how this misinformation just keeps getting recycled because we've always been told it. So we keep telling people it. People believe what they're taught in school, what they see on food labels, what experts repeat over and over. And it becomes so ingrained that even when better research comes out, people refuse to question the system. So let me ask you, how much of what you believe about food comes from actual research and how much comes from marketing, policy, and outdated guidelines? Because once you start questioning it, you can start taking back control of the food you eat. So, I get it. Making changes can feel overwhelming, especially when junk food is cheap, easy, and literally designed to keep you hooked. But the truth is, you don't have to change everything overnight. You just have to start. So, why don't we look at a couple ways to kind of start making healthier choices? If you're doing these already, that's fantastic. And you can find more ways as we go through this conversation throughout the week. But here's a good place to start if you haven't. I know as someone who is on a budget, and that sometimes your food gets more crap put in it because it's easy. It pleases the children, shuts them up, they have some snacks, and you have those foods and you're just getting it because that's the cheapest option you have at the time. I get that. I struggle with that myself, but there's some things you can just officially say no to. So let's just kind of go through those. Step one, I would say, is shop local and seasonal as much as possible. If there's one thing you can do today, it's just buying that food that's actually from where you live. Sounds simple, right? But modern grocery stores make it weirdly difficult because they import apples and things like that. We grow apples like crazy here. But anyway, shopping locally and seasonally is one of the most realistic and effective ways to break free from the industrialized food system. Here's the thing. Most of us think local shopping means expensive farmers markets or boutique grocery stores, but it doesn't have to be. The trick is knowing where to look and how to shop smart. If you have access to a local farm shop, butcher, or market, maybe start there. Buying straight from the source cuts out the middleman, meaning better quality food at a fair price, and most of the time it's always way fresher than supermarket produce. But here's what I always like to tell people: just because something is from a butcher doesn't mean it's good quality. Always ask where the meat is coming from. Some butchers source from the same industrial farms as grocery stores, but a good one will know their suppliers and prioritize fresh local meat. Okay? And then there's seasonal eating. So you probably the most underutilized food hack. The reason people think real food is expensive is because they're buying produce that's out of season and shipped halfway across the world. We don't need bananas in winter, okay? But if you stick to what grows naturally in your area at the time of year, is cheaper, fresher, and packed with more nutrients. Now, I see this in the grocery store. I get so many apples there in Tesco's from France or Spain or even Germany, I've seen on there, and other European countries. And we grow loads of apples here, and you have to hunt all the bags to find the one that says UK grow. Same with strawberries, same with many other foods. Like, you have to look at your packaging. Where is it coming from? Now, Canada, right now, with all the food tariffs and all that going on, people are actually really looking and actually quite surprised at how much food actually is imported. And you may be as well, is this if this hasn't been something that you look at every day, all the time. So, for example, in the UK, strawberries are meant to be a summer fruit. So if you're buying them in winter, they've either been grown in a greenhouse, possibly under like those fluorescent lights, maybe even hydro grown. That's a whole other topic we'll get into. But if you're buying them in winter, they've definitely always been grown in a greenhouse or under artificial conditions in some way, or flown in from another country, both of which all increase the cost, and they're all lower quality, or they're just older as well, right? Now let's talk about bulk buying. If you've got a Costco membership and lots of freezers, this is fantastic. So this is one of my favorite strategies for making high quality meat more affordable. If you can, find a local farm and buy a quarter or half of an animal. Yes, it's a bigger upfront cost, but when you break it down pound for pound, you're getting better quality meat for supermarket prices or less. So something to look into. Now, I know not everyone has freezer space for that, so another great option is organizing a meat share with friends or family. You all go in on a bulk purchase and split it up. It's a great way to make farm direct meat more accessible. And if you're on a tight budget, stick to the simple, versatile cuts like ground beef and whole chicken and stew cuts. These give you the most meals for your money. So next time you're kind of food shopping, think about this. Where is your food coming from? And how far has it traveled? And the closer to home, the better. And if you're intentional about where you buy, you'll not only save money, but you'll also be eating food that actually nourishes your body. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that right now. Step two, let's keep budget friendly real food as your top priority when you're shopping. Okay, so one of the biggest pushbacks I hear is eating healthy is expensive, and honestly, that's fair. It can be, especially if you're going organic and all that, and the greenwashing tubes of everything. So if you're on a tight budget, ultra processed food looks like the better deal. I've been there. Sometimes you're just going to try to stretch meals as far as possible. One of the biggest budget friendly strategies is buying a whole chicken instead of pre cut pieces. It's cheaper per pound, and you get multiple meals out of it, and you get to keep the skin and eat that because it's good for you. Stop taking it off of the meat. Really annoying. So here's how you stretch it, okay? So roast it whole for dinner one night. Save the leftover meat for sandwiches, salads, stir fries, whatever the next day. Then take the carcass and make some homemade stock, which can become the base for soups, stews, and even just drinking for gut health. Like, okay, don't stock in the morning. I really like take the chicken stock, add a couple of flavors to it if you want. It's just salt is usually really good, and just drink a cup of it every day. It will help with collagen boosting. If you've got a collagen powder, you can throw that in there if you want, if you need an extra boost. But you don't need to supplement with things. Like, this is a way to get a lot of that nutrients in. You can get a whole chicken with the feet, put the feet in the stew, in the stock that you're making. Don't waste anything. Put it all in there. The liver, the hearts, the kidneys, put it all in your stock. It's like the best thing you can do. Okay. Again, another whole longer conversation. But this method alone can save hundreds of dollars over the course of a year compared to buying just boneless, skinless cuts, and you get way more nutrition. You can spend more on a whole chicken and spread it out over a couple of meals rather than buy the cheap, very low nutritional chicken that you buy that's been in a very confined, crappy environment, grown too fast for itself, right? And this works for other meats too. So instead of buying individual pork chops, get a pork shoulder and slow cook it. It then turns into shredded pork for multiple meals. Once you shred it, it goes so much further than slicing it. So instead of expensive beef steaks, right, you buy the cheaper cuts like brisket and oxtail, which become incredibly tender when cooked low and slow. The key really is learning to cook these cuts properly. A slow cooker or pressure cooker can turn budget cuts into the best meals you've ever had. And when you cook this way, you're getting real whole food without the supermarket markup, because the less cut a piece is, the cheaper it's going to be for you. The more that the supermarket or the butcher had to slice it up for you, the more expensive it's going to be. So learn how to cut up your meats and stuff. And again, this will be conversations later down the line. So anyway, if you're serious about eating better and on a budget, start buying whole, cooking slow, and using every part of what you buy. It's an old school trick that big food corporations don't want you to remember, because it means you're spending less on their processed junk, which is also why you will see a section like this for whole chicken and a section like this for all the cut out parts. So this isn't just about saving money, right? It's about getting the most out of your food, stepping away from the industry that profits off of waste and convenience. Okay. My third step for you: buy quality meat and know what you're looking for. So a lot of people assume that just because they're buying from a butcher, they're getting better meat, or say a farm shop here, right? It's not always true. I've bought from butchers where the meat went off in 2 days, and that's not fresh. That's a really big red flag. Considering we've butchered our own animals, we know that when you butcher it and you hang it and then you slice it, you've got weeks on that. And that animal should have gone to the processor, gone straight to the butcher's, been sliced up and put in that cabinet for you. You should still have a week on it. 2 days and it's going green or smelling up? No, there's something wrong there. You've bought it from somebody that's already gone through that and maybe kept it for a week before they've sold it off. It's not good. Know where your food comes from. Right? So next, you want to kind of cut out, what are we on? Step 4, cut out the processed junk. So one step at a time, okay? So I'm not going to sit here and tell you to cut out every processed food immediately, because let's be honest, that's hard. I struggle with it too. Snack foods are addictive, even in moderation. They keep you coming back every day. I struggle with this myself very much. But the first step, I would say that's the most important, is start cooking with real fats and eliminate as much oils out of your diet as you can. It's one of the easiest swaps you can make. Butter, tallow, lard. Get rid of all seed oils, even your avocado oil. Get rid of it, okay? Breaking free from the system doesn't have to be overwhelming, but it does require small intentional steps, right? So one of the easiest changes you can make is choosing those real whole foods and cutting out those processed junk. And that starts with understanding how food actually fuels your body. So let's talk about fats, all right? So you start cooking with real fats: butter, tallow, lard. Dishes seed oils. Industrial seed oils are one of the biggest culprits of inflammation and metabolic issues today. They weren't even part of the human diet until the last century. So get rid of them. They're not natural. All right? Think about it. Can you squeeze an olive or an avocado and get oil? Yes, right? You can. Now, do the same thing and squeeze a sunflower seed or a rapeseed, and can you get oil? No. Okay? These oils require extensive industrial processing, including high heat, chemical solvents, deodorizers, just to make them edible. It is not food. That's a manufactured product. Get rid of it. Don't need it. And by the way, I have found too, right, when you're cooking with real fats, much easier to clean, and you don't get that gunky, gross stuff stuck everywhere, right? So get rid of it. You don't need it. Stop deep frying things. Get an air fryer, okay? Let's talk about snacks, because that's where most people really struggle. I struggle with it too. Snack foods are designed to be really hyper palatable, meaning they trigger your brain to keep eating even when you're full. If you find yourself craving something sweet or crunchy every day, it's not just a habit, it's by design. Okay? Processed food is engineered to make you addicted. Okay? Simple trick. This is what I tell my kids whenever they say I'm hungry. Okay? The tomato test, or I don't know, some other boring food. eat an apple, right? If you're not hungry enough to eat a plain tomato, you're not actually hungry. You're just craving something ultra processed. So if you wouldn't eat a tomato right now, don't eat the freaking cake or the cookie or the chips or whatever it is, right? If you wouldn't eat an apple right now, then, don't eat the thing. And if you would eat the apple or you would eat the tomato, then eat the tomato or the apple because it's the better choice anyway, okay? I know it sounds weird, but try it. It works. I'm sure your parents have said that before, It's almost dinner time. If you're hungry, eat an apple. If you can't eat that, then you're not hungry, right? We've probably heard it millions of times in our lifetimes. But anyway, the last and easiest way to take control is cook your own food. The more you cook, the more you realize how simple, satisfying, and affordable real food can be. Cook from scratch. And every time you choose real food, you opt out of their system. And the more of us that do this, the less power they have over us and the healthier we'll become. Okay, so it's time to take back that control of what we eat. And it starts with small, consistent choices. Okay, so every time you choose real food, opt out. Okay, this is just the beginning. And I've talked a lot now. So over the next few weeks, we're going to dive into the food lies we've been told, how meat got demonized, why seed oils are everywhere, and how even AI and social media controls what you believe about nutrition. If this has made you think differently about the food system, let me know in the comments. And if you want to go even deeper into this topic, check out our full conversation on Oak Acre, Growing Conversations. We're going to have that available everywhere. You can listen to podcasts, okay? That's going to be up as well later today. So don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell item as well, because next week we're exposing the truth about the war on animal-based foods. And for the rest of this week, we're going to be doing lots of little snippets of this topic. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.